The Lenovo Legion Go is one of my favorite handheld gaming PCs of the last couple years because it has a gorgeous display and a pretty innovative design similar to a Switch, which allows you to just yank off the controllers just like that. And if you use Lenovo's included puck, you can even use this right controller as a vertical mouse. That said, the big issue with this thing is that it's just really bulky. This display is an 8.8-inch display, and if you look at it, it's not the most ergonomic or sleek looking handheld. So at CES 2025, Lenovo is coming out with a new member of the family with this, the Legion Go S. Okay, so if we pick this thing up, now don't get me wrong, this thing is still a big handheld. It is slightly sleeker, and that does make it a little bit more portable, which could be kind of important for anyone who really wants to travel with this thing on a regular basis. So on this, the Legion Go S, we're looking at a 8-inch display instead of an 8.8-inch OLED display. And the refresh rate has dropped down slightly from 144 Hz to 120 Hz. The upside of that is that you now get support for VRR, which does help make graphics and stuff just look a little bit smoother. One thing that people really wanted to see on the original model, so now it's good to see it on this, the Legion Go S. Another big change for the display, at least, instead of doing a 2K display, we're looking at a much more reasonable 1920 by 1200 resolution. And the whole idea is that because this thing is running the same AMD Z1 Extreme chip as the previous model, that resolution just plays nicer with the performance and horsepower that you get from this device. And then over here, you still get your standard magnetic Hall effect style joysticks, which is one of the best things that you can get on any gaming handheld. But you'll notice that the D-pad they've switched it up to a new circular pivot style D-pad instead of the old cross-shaped option on the previous model. That's not bad. I kind of think I still prefer the cross shape, but that's just a personal preference from me. You'll also notice that they have rearranged the menu buttons over here. So you get your Legion button, which summons the Legion Space app, which has been updated to be a little bit more full-featured, run a lot smoother, which is actually super nice. And then over here, you have your traditional buttons that kind of line up with your traditional Xbox-style gamepad layout. Over here, nice face buttons, a little bit less clicky, but still feel very nice. Front-facing speakers, and then over here, you see that the touchpad is way smaller. It still works totally fine, and you can click it in just like before, but the smaller size obviously accommodates the smaller design, and it actually works more like a trackball than a traditional touchpad in my use, but still very functional. Some other changes is that you see right here, they moved the USB 4 ports so that they're right next to each other, I think, which just makes it a little bit easier to use. You have your power button and then volume controls right here, and then your traditional 3.5mm audio jack. You still get two shoulder buttons, and then if you look in back, there's a little bit of adjustability right here, so you can kind of change how deep or how shallow you want them to be. And then there's some paddles in back. Very standard, but nice to see. And then finally, down bottom, there is a micro SD card slot. Now, one other cool thing to notice is that Lenovo has designed this so that if you want to upgrade the storage yourself, it's a little bit more accommodating because while the Legion Go S still uses a 2240 size SSD on the inside, it does accommodate a full-size 2280 SSD slot. So if you want those bigger, and they're kind of easier to find and a little bit more affordable, that full-size SSD slot, you can swap that in yourself. Just know that out of the box, that the Legion Go S does come with that half-size 2240 size slot. Because obviously the controller is attached to the system, it does feel a lot more solid. Even on, in the best of circumstances, the original Legion Go, you still get a little bit of flex from that kind of hinge where it would detach and detach. So it's just really nice. And finally, while this isn't bundled with the system, Lenovo does have an updated version of its glasses. In this case, the Legion Glasses 2, and just a little bit sleeker and just more updated components that make the display brighter, sharper, easier to look at, and I actually think they're a little bit more stylish too. So you can see right here, there's a cover. So if you are in a bright area, you can kind of use it and you're not kind of distracted by the background objects and stuff like that. And importantly, the cable is detachable, so that just makes it so much easier to travel with. You can just snap the cable off and use the glasses like that. And inside, the display is brighter, and I noticed that the FOV is a little bit wider, and it's definitely a sharper resolution, especially around the edges of the display. Another small thing that Lenovo added to the Legion Glasses 2 is that there's now built-in microphones, which is something that they said people ask for because, hey, if you're using these to take a call, then it's just a little bit easier to have microphones on the glasses so people can hear you a little bit better when you're talking. Once again, these aren't bundled with the system, but if you are traveling and you want to use these on a plane or somewhere private where you don't want people seeing what you're doing, these are definitely a lot more interesting of an option, and they're definitely sleeker and more portable to go along with the rest of the Legion Go S. One last important thing to note. Now you might notice that my hair is different and that my clothes are different, and that's because after we filmed our original hands-on, Lenovo told us that there's going to be a second version of the Legion Go S that comes with SteamOS pre-installed instead of Windows. Now, as someone who's wanted to see basically third-party versions of the Steam Deck, it's really cool that Lenovo is offering two OSs to choose from. Now, there are a couple things to note about this. The first is that the specs and design for both versions are pretty much identical. The main difference being that the Windows 11 version is going to be available in white and the SteamOS version is going to be available in black. The second thing to note is that the Windows 11 version is going to come out first with a 32 gig RAM configuration, and that's going to be available starting in January for about $730. After that, sometime in May, that's when the SteamOS version and the general 16 gig RAM version is going to be available starting for $600. It's a little bit of a wait if you want that SteamOS version, but at least Lenovo is really trying to give us two options to choose from, and I think that's a really cool approach. But that's it for now. For more from CES 2025 and everything from Engadget, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more news, reviews, and hands-ons.